Sometimes the most extraordinary moments arrive quietly, without any warning, without any plan. Nick was one of those people who believed that life always had something meaningful waiting around the corner. He had just moved from his small hometown to Tokyo, yet somehow feels lonely when you're starting from scratch. And then, one morning, as sunlight spilled over the quiet neighborhood, he saw her, Misaki, the girl next door.
お隣の。
あ、そうです、そうです。美咲です。
あ、美咲さん。あ、
はい。
亀田です。はい。あ、どうも。
よく会いますもんね、朝とか。
そうですね。通勤時間帯同じ
そうですよ
なんですか
ね。
ね。
ね、タイミングが。
はい。
It wasn't a dramatic meeting, like in the movies. She was simply returning from the supermarket. But there was something about her calm smile, the quiet grace in the way she greeted the morning, that caught Nick's attention. Somehow, it felt like the first real moment of connection he'd had since arriving in the city. Their meeting began with gentle greetings, a few small stories in the hallway. Misaki's laughter was warm, genuine like sunlight after a long winter.
はい。
よかったらうちでお茶でもしていきませんか？
え？
お時間あればですけど、こうしてせっかくお話できましたし、どうかなと思って。
Misaki invited Nick over for tea.
忙しいですか？
いえ、全然忙しくない。じゃあ、少し。
いいですか？
はい。
ありがとう。
大丈夫ですか？
全然うちは。
じゃあ。
はい。じゃあうちに。どうぞそのまま。
Misaki's apartment was cozy, filled with soft light, houseplants, and the calming scent of tea leaves. Everything seemed intentional yet natural, reflecting the way she lived her life, balanced, thoughtful, and peaceful. He realized that her warmth came not just from her smile, but from the way she approached life with appreciation for the little things most people overlooked. She brewed tea for them, pouring it carefully into 2 porcelain cups. As the aroma filled the room, Nick felt strangely at home. They talked about everyday things, favorite foods, music, childhood memories. Misaki told him about growing up in a small coastal town and how she moved to Tokyo to work as a freelance designer. Nick listened intently, admiring her determination. Nick began to notice how their routines subtly aligned, not by plan, but by coincidence, or maybe fate if such a thing exists. What made Misaki special wasn't just her kindness, but the quiet steadiness she carried. She had a way of listening that made others feel seen. When Nick mentioned his struggles to find work, she didn't offer empty comfort. She simply said, "Every day is a new chance. Keep moving forward." Simple words, but they stuck with him. For the first time in a long while, Nick felt something awaken in his heart, not just affection, but motivation. The city didn't feel as heavy anymore. What Nick didn't know was that Misaki, too, had noticed him from the very beginning. She admired his politeness, the calm sincerity in his eyes. To her, he seemed like someone carrying invisible dreams, someone who hadn't yet realized how much potential he had. And though she never said it aloud, she was quietly glad to have a neighbor who reminded her that kindness still existed in a busy world. This wasn't a story of instant love. It was the beginning of friendship, a connection built from small moments of understanding, the kind that grows naturally when 2 people share the same rhythm of life. Sometimes, love doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with the sound of teacups, the smell of fresh rain, and simple stories. Their friendship deepened naturally. Nick started noticing how much she'd grown because of these simple interactions. Misaki often encouraged him, saying, "Even small steps can lead to big changes." Their conversation flowed effortlessly. It wasn't romantic in a dramatic way, but in a deeply human one-two people sharing reflections about life, hope, and finding balance. Before he returned to his apartment, Nick felt something change inside him. For the first time since moving to the city, he felt like he really belonged somewhere. Love, he realized, didn't always announce itself with grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes it began with friendship, a connection built through shared laughter and honest conversations. And though neither of them said it aloud, both knew that something beautiful was quietly beginning to grow between them. Life has a quiet rhythm. Just when things start to feel certain, a small moment can stir questions we didn't know we carried. For Nick, everything had felt almost perfect. The laughter, the conversations, the growing connection with Misaki. But as anyone who has ever cared deeply knows, closeness often brings a touch of vulnerability. That day, Nick went to the market to buy some groceries. When he returned, he saw someone standing in front of Misaki's apartment. He asked him about Misaki because he couldn't contact her. Nick was silent, not knowing why his heart suddenly felt heavy. He wasn't angry or jealous, just uncertain. He'd never asked Misaki much about her personal life, and now, seeing her with someone else, he realized how much she mattered to him. For the first time, he wondered if his feelings had grown deeper than friendship. The next morning, when he met Misaki again in the hallway, an invisible distance suddenly appeared between him and her, making him unable to speak. She waved warmly. As she approached, Nick gently mentioned that someone had come to see her yesterday. She cheerfully said, "That's my cousin Daishi. He came to visit from Osaka." After getting the answer, Nick felt relieved. The atmosphere between Nick and Misaki returned to normal. However, that moment still lingered in Nick's mind for a long time afterward. He thought about what had happened. Why had he felt so uneasy? It wasn't about trust. It was about fear. Fear of losing something he hadn't even found the courage to fully express. He realized that real affection comes with a quiet kind of bravery, the courage to be honest, even when you don't know what the outcome will be. The next morning, Nick decided to face that fear in his own way. Instead of avoiding the feeling, he chose to grow from it. He applied for a new job at a creative agency, something that truly excited him. He started spending time taking care of his apartment, which Misaki mentioned helped her think more clearly. It wasn't about trying to impress her. It was about becoming the best version of himself, someone capable of love, not just longing. After the results from the recruiting company, Nick immediately texted Misaki to share. He wrote, "I got an interview." She smiled back. "Congratulations." Nick blinked in surprise. "How did you know?" She replied, "I saw you walk out this morning with that serious look on your face that people usually see when they're about to do something important." As days turned into weeks, their bond deepened. Their connection wasn't loud or dramatic. It was steady, patient, and real. Nick finally found the courage to speak what had long been in his heart. Misaki, I've learned a lot since I met you. You've shown me that happiness isn't something we chase. It's something we nurture. You've helped me see life in color again. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want to walk through it with you. For a moment, she didn't answer. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then she smiled, a soft, genuine smile that carried warmth and peace. I feel the same, she whispered. There was no dramatic music, no applause, just two people standing in the glow of the evening, realizing that love had quietly found its place in their lives. In the following months, Nick and Misaki continued to grow together, supporting each other through new challenges, celebrating small victories, and finding joy in everyday simplicity. Their story wasn't about perfect romance. It was about balance, understanding, and the beauty of growing side by side. Love often begins in the most ordinary moments: a shared smile, a kind gesture, a quiet cup of tea. It teaches us patience, gratitude, and the courage to be genuine. Nick's story reminds us that true happiness doesn't depend on luck or perfection, but on how we choose to live each day with kindness, honesty, and appreciation for the people who make our world brighter.